A 10-race card, including 4 Group 1s for day 2 of the championships. Let's break it all down with our tipster, Sky Racing analyst, Brad Gray. Good morning to you, Bradley.
Yeah, good morning, guys. Here we are at Randwick again. A little bit windy at the moment, but at least it's not raining, so that's a plus compared to last week, albeit when we did this part of the show last week, we were blazed in sunshine, weren't we? And then we got a bit of a downpour. So I know last week wasn't great as far as the tipping side of things, but I think we'll bounce back in a big way today, guys.
Yeah, you've got to stay strong, stay positive. That breeze could help the track as well, Brad. Of course, heavy 8. Is there any chance it could move into that soft range?
Yeah, well, we've got the right conditions, as you say, Tim. So really windy at the moment. At the moment, it would be blowing them home there, so a bit of a tailwind in the straight. So that's something to keep an eye on. But the sun is out, so who knows? Maybe we do end up on a soft 7, which would be a good result.
We saw last week just how much of an impact that track, and albeit there were a lot of rain around and really tough conditions, but what an impact that had on the results. So many outsiders crossing that line. What do you think of today's track and how it might fare for some of these Group 1s?
Yeah, well, it was a Bookies day, wasn't it? It was a Bookies by knockout. Unfortunately, us punters, he copped a bit of a blow there. But I think today's track will be pretty fair. Of course, you're still looking for those horses that will handle the going, because we're dealing with a track that did see a fair bit of action there just 7 days ago. So monitor how it might play. There is going to be a bit of wear towards the inside of the track. Does that mean a few jockeys want to get towards the outside? Maybe, but that's something we'll keep an eye on as the day unfolds. But as far as last week compared to this week, I don't think you'll need to be finding those horses that want it bottomless, but you do want to find those horses that can handle the sting out of the ground.
Well, let's have a look at a few of these races. Provincial Championships final, race 4.
Yeah, Provincial Championships final today. So I'm with Kobe, trained by Sam Kavanagh. So he's won 4 of his starts for Sam, so all 4 starts, and he's building an impressive little CV, this horse. I've actually made him the best bet across the card. So to get into the final, he won at Gosford, despite not really being a Gosford horse. Now, when I say that, Gosford is a tight track, whereas at Randwick, he's got this nice big open space to let down. That was only 1,200 metres. Today's 1,400 metres. And I'd be very surprised if Kobe didn't go to another level again, and I think he'll come out and justify favouritism in this race. That's no knock on short shorts. I think she's a danger, but I'm very keen on the chances of Kobe.
4 Group 1s today. It all starts race 6, the Australian Oaks.
Yeah, now this is a bit of a head scratcher. I spent way too long in this race, and I think I just made myself more confused. So we're going back to 7 days ago to the Adrian Knox form. Now, the Adrian Knox typically is for those fillies that haven't quite been to the top level yet, and they can just come through the back door. And didn't we see Arts make a bit of a statement there in the Adrian Knox? So it was a heavy 9. Today we're only dealing with a heavy 8, but she's got that race fitness now. We know that she'll get through the conditions, no problem whatsoever. And I do think she's the horse to beat. Pavitra's the current favourite. Maybe a little question mark in terms of whether she wants it too wet today, as this wind really starts to kick up. But I do think Arts is the horse to beat. If you want a roughie in the race, I do think Premise will run some kind of race at double-figure odds.
What about King Frankel in the Sydney Cup?
Yeah, I like him. Hopefully you do too, Tim. King Frankel, Cleveland's the favourite at the moment, but Mark Newnham has said all along that the Sydney Cup has been the aim for this horse. He was good in the Tancred. He was left exposed, wide and working a long way from home. Yet there he was, still only beaten a length. He drops 9 kilos. And you look at the history of the Sydney Cup most recently, and it does tend to favour those horses that are right down in the weight. So I can see the money's come for him, and I'm not surprised whatsoever. I think he's very hard to beat today, King Frankel.
There has been a lot of talk about this year's Queen Elizabeth Stakes, and rightly so. We've got Animo in what could be is likely to be his last appearance here in Australia, going up against William Haggis's Dubai Honour. Of course, you've got the Japanese runner as well, but William Haggis himself has said this is not going to be a 2-horse race. What do you think? Yeah,
well, so often that is the case, isn't it, Julie? When we just say, well, these 2 horses and they should fight at the finish, generally racing has a funny way of reminding us that, yeah, it can throw up funny results. The Japanese horse, he's going to be hard to beat. He's a wild card in it. Unicorn Lion, Zayrek is absolutely airborne at the moment. The market does suggest the 2 horses to beat are Animo and Dubai Honour. I'm with Dubai Honour. It feels a little bit un-Australian to go against him. It's one of those scenarios where your heart says Animo, but your head is saying Dubai Honour. He was so dominant in the Randwick Stakes. You touched on William Haggis before, Julian, and he's a horse with horse trainer with a proven track record in terms of bringing the right horses to Australia. We saw him bring out a Dave to beat Very Elegant. She was the queen of Australian racing. And now he's brought out one to potentially conquer the king of Australian racing, Animo. So, due by honour, the sting out of the ground. I think he'll get through the wet conditions, no problem whatsoever. And on the way, he won the Rambit by 4 lengths, beating horses like Montefilia and Moanga. I think he's the horse to beat. Yep, not a lot between them, though.
How do you think Animo will handle the track?
Yeah, well, I don't think he's at his optimum on heavy ground. That said, his biggest win ever, or biggest margin, ever was in the Rosehill Guineas, and that was on a heavy surface, albeit against the 3-year-old. So I know the stable were a little bit doubtful coming into this, hoping that storm last night didn't hit. Thankfully for us, it did dodge us, because his biggest failure, I guess you could say, Animo, was in this race 12 months ago, albeit it was on a much worse track than we've got today. So I think it does favour Due by Honour and kicks into his stamina and takes away that turn of foot from Animo. But in improving heavy 8 and maybe even a 7, I think it's fair game and the best horse wins.
And just lastly, we'll get your thoughts on the Queen of the Turf Stakes as well. We might get the guys to bring your graphic up so we can have a look at your roughies and best bets as well.
Yeah, Queen of the Turf, I think this is the best edition of the Queen of the Turf we've seen in a long time. This is one of the roughies I like, actually, Statement. So everybody was aboard Statement. She's an Irish-trained mare, last starting Emancipation. That was on a good track. She's a wet tracker. So all of a sudden the market's completely brushed her. So have something each way on Statement in the Queen of the Turf. Now, the best roughies, I've made race 2 Rosita. That's in the South Pacific Classic, trained by Chris Lees. She's got really good depth of form behind some fillies at the moment, the likes of Zugotcha, In Secret, Fireburn, She's a Belter, the list goes on. And we'll save one for the last, as we always like to do. This former American trained mare, Princess Grace. She's got a bit of class and she's going in race 10. So roughies come up in race 2 and race 10. And the best of the day, as we touched on, comes up in race 4. That is Kobe.
What do you think about Autumn Ballet and the Percy Sykes?
I like her. Yeah, I think she's a lovely filly. Not a lot of speed in the race either, so Tim Clark punches up, barrier 1, maybe holds the front, and yeah, if she repeats what she did in the Black Opal, she's the horse to beat.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, the male model from Miranda, best on ground today, already has won the Fashions on the Field for the men's section, and it hasn't even got to 10 o'clock in the morning. Great to see you, buddy. Enjoy your day. Where are you positioned today? Are you in the ballroom with the prawns? Where are you?
No, I'm not going to skip home after this. I'm going to do the form for Warwick Farm on Monday. So racing never sleeps.
Oh, so if you want your photos and your autographs with Brad Gray, you better quickly run down to the mounting yard now. He won't be there for much longer.
Yeah.
he'll be taking his appearances for the next half an hour.
Before this wind kicks into gear and it blows me up into the tree.
Grab a Villies pie from the media area on your way home. Good to see you, buddy.
Bye, Brad.
See you guys.